Hey guys, and welcome to my new video. This video is just going to be a podcast type video, so just play a bit of Escape while you're listening. There's not going to be any footage on screen, but at this point in time, Rune Labs is set to be released tomorrow, I believe. And for anyone that doesn't know, this is basically an idea where community suggested ideas get implemented into the game. And so I've been trying to put some thought into an idea to put into Rune Labs, and I think I've got I think this is quite a good idea, so I wanted to make a quick video on it, get a bit of publicity for it, and maybe a bit of feedback from anyone that actually watches the video. So my idea is called the Godwars Forge, and it's essentially to increase the value of God Wars items and increase the profitability of God Wars as a whole. So what the initially when you go into the Godwars Forge, what you do is you have to attune the forge to a specific god, so Bandos, Armadillo, whatever. And to do that, you have to offer the bones of the enemy commander. So from the previous world event, Bandos and Armadillo were fighting. So to attune the forge to Bandos, you have to offer 1,000 Kriara bones. So this brings me to a separate point. You would have to add extra bones for the other generals. So you would add bones for Kriara, bones for Commander Ziliana, and then a new type of Ash for Krill. So that's 3 new items in the game already, which I think would... And these bones would also be good for prayer, because Bandos has Org bones, but all the other bosses just drop bones or Infernal Ashes. So this would increase the profitability of the 3 other generals, as opposed to Bandos. So 1,000 bones might seem a lot, but this will have a mechanic sort of like the Crystal Seed mechanic, or Crystal Weapon mechanic, where it reduces each time you attune to that boss. So it would start off at 1,000, but then eventually diminish to only 100, which keeps the value of bones high, and also you would get prayer experience for using the bones on the altar. So I haven't fully thought this through yet, but what my idea was to give the same experience as you would get for a gilded altar with burners lit. So it's a really good experience, and it wouldn't be too far from my bank with the new God Wars teleport, which would be really useful for people. But there would also be an option to offer noted bones. So for people that didn't want to go to the hassle to having to run bones to reattune the altar, you could offer instantly 1,000 noted General Grado bones or Org bones, but at the cost of, say, for example, 90% of your experience. So you balance up experience for time and basically make it not a viable training method. Now, so as to not forego, so that gilded altars are still useful, you'd have to, it'd be like a D&D almost, so you can only reattune the altar once per day. So it would be a maximum of 1,000 bones, and its sort of usability as a prayer training method diminishes the more that you use it, which I think is quite good, because you don't want gilded altars to become obsolete. So once you've reattuned it, you can then turn the items related to that boss. So for example, I'm going to use Bando as an example quite a lot throughout this video. A BCP, Tassets, Helm, Glove, Boots, War Shield can all be turned into the raw material that they're made of. So this introduces a new material into the game, which should be the, for example, called Bando's Metal. Now, this metal would be untradeable, and you would get different amounts for... so you get more for a BCP than you would for a Helm. This metal can then be smithed into an upgraded Bandos chestplate, and I was thinking of calling it maybe a sturdy Bandos chestplate, with a ratio of 10 to 1. So you would need, for example, if a Bandos chestplate gave 50 metal, you would need 500 to make the sturdy Bandos chestplate. And then this Bandos chestplate is T85 degradable power armor, which fills the gap, because we've got T85 tank armor but no T85 power armor. So it fills the T85 gap. And also, if you make it degradable and only repairable by fragments instead of coins, it keeps demand high for the God Wars items, and takes them out of the game. So say it costs 50 to repair every 10 hours, that's a BCP out of the game every 10 hours of combat. So it keeps the demand high for all the other God Wars items. This same applies for Armadillo and Subjugation, so you'd get upgraded versions of Armadillo and Subjugation. Now, because Subjugation is not metal, it would have to be weaved, so instead of, you could implement smithing and crafting into this, and also prayer. So it's 3 skills implemented in these new items. So that's the main idea. Now, a lot of you will be thinking, what about necks? All the next armors are going to crash because once you've got T85 power armor, T80 armor becomes obsolete. So my workaround for this is that the next sets get a set bonus. Now I know this has been thrown around before, and I'm not sure whether it was thrown out by Jagex, but if they had a set effect where they gave increased damage and also decreased damage received, but only to the other God Wars generals, people would use them to get the God Wars items to make the T85 armor, to repair the T85 armor. So it would give usability for the T80 armor, and then also the T85 armor would then be used at higher level bosses. So it creates demand for all of them. Also, I was thinking that you could add a new bone to Nex. So Nex obviously takes longer to kill, so the bone will give increased prayer experience over ARG bones, the new bones for Kree, Commanders of Liana and everything, but would also count for 5 of the normal bosses. So instead of having to offer 1,000 bones, you'd only have to offer 200 of the Nex bones, and Nex would count for all of the other generals. So obviously Bando's an Armadillo, you have to offer the alternate bones to attune to that, but you could also offer Nex. And then because Saradomin and Zamorak fought in the first world event, it would be same. So you'd have to offer those 2 bones or ashes for those 2, but also Nex bones. So the Nex bones count for basically is like a universal item. The final idea I had for the Godwars Forge is where it's going to be located. So obviously it's going to be in the God Wars, but I feel you should need an item to access it. So I was thinking what you could do is you could use the frozen key to access the forge, which is used to access Nex, but this frozen key would have to be upgraded by adding a drop that is dropped by Nex. So obviously the key is, or you get 4 parts from the 4 different minions, or you get the 4 different parts of the key, so you'd have to add a 5th Zaros part to the key, which is dropped by Nex. Now you could either I was thinking you could introduce this in 2 ways. You could either introduce it by having a relatively common drop, so maybe as rare as an item, which aren't particularly rare. It's added to the key, it creates an upgraded key, and then the key still acts as a money sink, so maybe increase the charge that the key costs per charge, but then you can access the forge and Nex. Or you make it a very rare drop from Nex, which obviously it's going to be then a really high valued item because you need it to make this T85 power armor. So it's going to be really expensive drop, increases the value or increases how much money you can make at Nex, but it makes like an indestructible key that has unlimited charges on it, so you can access Nex as many times as you want for free, and also the forge as many times as you want. So it's a way up between a very, very high priced item that comes into the game or a low priced item that acts as a money sink. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I don't normally ask for likes and shares, but I'm really behind this idea. I think it's a really good workaround for increasing God Wars values drops and filling the T85 power armor gap. I would really love it if you'd like and share this video, try and get a bit of support for the idea, support it on the runelabs when I post it. I want to thank you all for listening if you've made it this far in the video. I'd appreciate any comments or any problems that you can see with it. Thank you very much for watching, I'll see you in the next one.